I was getting a master's degree in financial planning. I was taking a business course and we went to Scotland as like a study abroad. By the end of the course, we had to write a paper about managerial decision making. So naturally, my 25-page paper was about the last 1 million years of human history. So very shortly into my research on this topic, I noticed that there were gaping inconsistencies. Information and unearthing secrets and the truth about stuff is what I'm very good at. I could not ignore this elephant in the room. I wasted an infuriating amount of time trying to fill these gaps in information before I realized that organizations were censoring articles. But in the articles, they were trying very hard not to upset the public. The authors were like lightly treading around the truth about humanity and our origins and how we're basically just human casserole. I didn't really get what I was doing at the time. I just had this drive to find the truth. I was being guided by spirit to particular articles. There were wisdoms dropping in as I was studying to help me make sense of what I was learning. I was able to identify where true history was hidden. I'm being asked to share these things because now is the time that we start learning who we really are. Let's begin. So the theory that we are currently taught is replacement theory of evolution, which is that Homo sapiens emerged out of Africa and then spread throughout the world and overtook other species of humans. But what I learned is that we are actually not called Homo sapiens anymore. Us right now, we're called Homo sapiens sapiens. We are the product of intermixing between at least 3 different types of humans. Denisovans and Neanderthals have been recategorized as actual Homo sapiens. These are not archaic human species that we had to overtake. They behaved just like us. Their language ability was just as advanced. Their ability to create and interact with symbolic thought was the same. Neanderthals were able to sail around the world. They built boats and stuff. They were very good at creating art and jewelry and stuff. The reason why I bring up the art is because in our current education system, we view art as an extra, like a fun thing we are able to allow ourselves to do once we complete our real work. But we are in our most powerful state when we are allowed to be in flow. So art is how we express our intelligence. It is how we connect with spirit and with God. If we're prevented from living in creativity, then we're prevented from expressing the full capacity of being human. There's a reason why art is viewed as a frilly extra. We have been manipulated into creating a lifestyle for ourselves that makes it so that creative thought and a creative flow state lifestyle is not conducive to making money and buying food and stuff. Like there's a reason why there's a disconnect there between our ability to express ourselves properly and have free time to create, being prevented from doing that because we all have to work. What's absolutely fascinating is that scientists are continuing to find not yet identified genetic lines in our DNA. We are a product of all of us working together. We are a genetic conglomeration of many different types of humans. This belief system that we've had about evolution, about how we overtook other species of humans, it's a domineering, oppressive look at what happened through our glasses that we were wearing of capitalism and patriarchy. This was us trying to interpret history through our ridiculous preconceived notions. So it was a lot of saying like, yes, we did breed with the other types of humans, but it wasn't very much, and those were probably the weirdos. We don't know like the nature of why that happened, and we still emerged just being us, and we don't know why we are better. Humble bragging. We have such an inflated view of who we are. It was funny to read this. I was like, this is ridiculous. This sounds ridiculous. We just have this view of us as being like the most advanced that humans have ever been. Atlantis was the pinnacle of civilization. What Plato wrote about was not a mythological human culture. They benefit from this evolution narrative because it perpetuates racism, in my opinion. Racism is very lucrative. It very heavily controls people. So when researchers, and thousands of them, have found the truth of humanity, little pieces of that puzzle, but their work doesn't get published and they get completely invalidated and subject to cancel culture, their lives and their careers get destroyed. So why would they not tiptoe around this topic? There is a giant clamp on the truth right now. The true age of humanity is hidden. We are extremely ancient, and we have had many different iterations of human culture on this planet. There are very important aspects of human history being swept under the rug. This was a truth that could not be denied as I was doing this research. There are so many different types of people in the world, but we're all just people. This is the way it has always been. Our inherent nature is interconnection. Mixing with groups extremely different from each other is a normal pattern for humans. It has always been that way. This is how advancement happens. Collective advancement happens when different types of humans come together. But if you're trying to prevent humans from advancing, if you're trying to prevent them from sharing ideas, from collective learning and advancement, you're going to try to convince them that purity is something that needs to be earned and not something we're born with. So that brings us back to the Bible story and the idea of original sin. If we, from birth, are viewed as being immoral, disgusting creatures in need of saving, then we are going to behave that way because our perception is reality. We are fed a narrative about who we are, and then we carry out that belief system. That's all you got to do is predictive programming. That's what it is. You're going to be on a constant search for who is pure, who is impure, who is socially appropriate, who isn't, who fits in, who doesn't, who's right, who's wrong. Do you see where the problem lies here? Majority of us try to fit into these ridiculous categories and boxes and social expectations that we have set for ourselves, but most of us can't, right? I mean, I would argue that everybody goes through a phase in their life where they're like, I just suck. I'm not doing what is expected of me. Either they experience it in childhood from their parents who just constantly tell them that they're not enough, or they experience it in school because they're not fitting in with other kids, or I could just keep going. This idea that differences are unnatural. A lot of people associate morality with conformity. They're not the same. This is a social construct that we have put on ourselves based on this idea that the only way that you're worthy of being accepted by God, basically, or like the only way that you are a worthy human is if you can fit in. But who's creating these rules? We are creating these rules for us. It's completely made up. We have been fed a series of ideas that involve us having shame about ourselves. And in order to try to feel better about said shame, we put restrictions onto ourselves. We are inherently transient creatures. We flourish when our lifestyle is fluid. The flow state is how we fully express our human capabilities, which are vast and impressive, and they're rooted in imagination and symbolic thought. We do not currently comprehend the extent of this power. If we are made to believe that we are inherently good, we are inherently whole, we are inherently lovable, then we will feel comfortable being ourselves and living in our flow state. And that is where our power lies. Freedom is also a requirement for our intelligence. Currently, we have smaller skull sizes in comparison to our ancient ancestors. There's a little bit of debate about this, but generally, the size of the brain in relation to the size of the body determines intelligence levels. So the prevalent theory is because of capital punishment. As soon as the Ice Age ended, we plummeted into 15,000 years of stunted intellect. As authoritarian regimes moved in and stupefied its citizens, there was a purposeful campaign to restrict independent thought. In a nutshell, we've been executing smart people for thousands of years, and it's resulted in shrunken brain sizes. There's absolutely no benefit whatsoever from silencing people. Large pools of interacting individuals can create and maintain adaptive skills more effectively than small populations. They are also capable of faster cumulative cultural evolution. Human beings thrive when we work together. This is not like, oh, we all have to love each other, beauty pageant type jokes. This is how we function as human beings. by doing it together. This is how we advance, by doing it together. If Spirit has drilled anything into my brain, it is this very nugget of truth. There is no such thing as a them and a us. It is us. The only way out is through. We got to work together. I was so proud of this paper. I passed it in 3 weeks late because I was like determined to come to a conclusion about humanity. And my argument was that if we're going to understand how to properly run organizations in sustainable, modern, inclusive ways that adhere to the concept of conscious capitalism, which is where the future of business is going, then we have to understand where our power lies. We have to understand what humans are innately good at. We have to understand how we have made decisions in the past. We can't possibly know how to run businesses that reflect where human evolution is going if we don't understand where we came from. We have to understand our past if we're going to change our future. I'm being driven by Spirit to help people remember these things. She hated my paper and she failed me. But I still say that that was the best paper I ever wrote, and I still have a copy of it.